What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, NeoSenses, coming at you today with something that is very special. So here we have my first deck that is not either a more budget-friendly list in the case of the 10E deck that I showed off earlier, and is not Eldlich. It's actually combo. Now, I know I kind of disrecommended, just trying to tell people that you probably shouldn't play combo on the ladder because it's extremely difficult. Your technical skill needs to be much higher than playing control, and combo is really not the best against the best deck in the format, in my opinion, which is the Eld deck. Regardless of those facts, I really want to just kind of test my skill and see if I can't climb to platinum with this deck. This is on my free-to-play account, so I haven't spent a single dollar on this game whatsoever. But as you can see, I have a deck full of ultra rares and super rares. It's not that difficult to acquire the currency in this game. It's really just knowing how to efficiently spend it. So basically, I made a video the other day kind of showing off how I was getting most of the cards that I needed for this deck out of what sets. But essentially, I made shrewd buys and disenchanted everything that I didn't need, and I ended up with this. So I'll just I'll run down the card by card, and I'll kind of mention a few things that I'll mention some changes to my deck that you could make that not necessarily everybody runs, that I'm running kind of because this is a bit of a free-to-play run. So first and foremost, I'm running 5 hand traps, 3 max C because I think it's the best one. You can discard this card, and then after it resolves, every time your opponent special summons, you draw a card. Ash, because it's the free card you get out of the 750 gem pack, and it's quite powerful, being able to negate any of these 3 effects, adding special summoning or sending cards from the deck. And then the last hand trap I run, the worst hand trap I run, is Duel and Lockbird. If a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except during the draw phase, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard for the rest of the turn. Cards cannot be added from either player's main deck to the hand. This card is very good against this deck and just a lot of rogue strategies in general. If you wanted to play the second Ash, if you had the second Ash, do it. It's better, in my opinion, than the Duel. But the Duel is a super rare, so if you don't have max C's, you can put Drolls in there. I just have 5 hand traps for now, and this number may go up. And then I'll talk about this card. It's kind of an in-between hand trap. Herald of the Orange Light basically just says when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send this card and one other fairy from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and destroy it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really activate this effect very often. It's more, you can activate it on your opponent's turn when you haven't been able to combo off, but if you've comboed off, you're most likely gonna have other things you're gonna have other reasons to discard this card rather than its own effect. And then I suppose I'll just talk about Eva before I get into the Drytron cards. If this card is sent to the graveyard from the deck, field, hand, anywhere. If this card, I think even if you banish this card and send it to the graveyard, it'll trigger. You can target 2 other light fairy monsters from your field and or graveyard. Add the same number of level 2 or lower fairy light monsters from different names from your deck to your hand, except for Eva. And you can only use this effect once per turn. So this card essentially allows you to generate a +1 just from discarding it. You get 2 cards, but you can't. It doesn't discard itself, so a lot of times you are not discarding. But if this card is sent to the graveyard with a bunch of various effects, you proc its effect and you get 2 searches, which is quite good. Eva's limited in the TCG. I'll kind of explain why you want more light fairies in your hands as we go on. And then for the last non-Drytron card, this card might as well be a Drytron card. Diviner of the Herald. When this card is no more special summon, you can send 1 fairy monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. Increase this card's level by that monster's level until the end of the turn. So you're always pretty much sending this card right here. And then the tribute effect, if this card is tributed, you can special summon 1 level 2 or lower fairy monster from your deck, except Diviner of the Herald. You can only use each one of the Diviner of the Herald effects per turn. So that secondary effect almost never comes up. I don't think I've triggered it yet. I could be wrong on that, though. I need more experience with the deck, but I digress. Basically, this card allows you to send... You're not sending cards from your deck 99% of the time. I think there may be some cases where you do want to send Eva to get the extra cards, but most of the time you're going to be sending Herald of the Arclight. And Herald of the Arclight just says if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one ritual monster or one ritual spell from your deck to your hand. As you can see, I do play rituals, so this card's extremely awesome. Basically, this is your Elemental Hero Stratos. You normal summon that, send the level 4 monster. This card becomes level 6, which allows you to go into rank 6 Xyz. Stuff like that. We'll kind of get into that when we get into the level 6 monster that you are going to be overlaying with. So that's it for the non-Drytron monsters, and then I'll just go ahead and go through the 3 of Drytrons first. So Drytron Alpha Thubin. By the way, I'll just be calling them by their second name. So Alpha is the second name right here, and then they all have a third name as well that I'm just going to ignore for the rest of the video. So if you're wondering what card I'm talking about when I say a Greek letter, it's these cards, the Drytron cards. So all the Drytron cards share the same effect. That they cannot be normal summoned or set, or they cannot be normal summoned and must be special summoned with the effect of a Drytron card. So you contribute one Drytron monster you control, or one Drytron monster in your hand, or one that you control, or a ritual monster from your hand or that you control, and you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard in defense. So the graveyard part of this makes the Drytrons really, really recurable, and it gives it a really excellent grind game because they're coming out from the graveyard pretty much every single turn if you are setting up the deck correctly. And then when this card is special summoned, you can when this card is special summoned by this effect, basically when this card is special summoned by this effect, where you're attributing a Drytron or a ritual, you can add one ritual monster from your deck to your hand. And you cannot special summon monsters, except monsters cannot be normal summoned or set turn you activate this card. So that's not necessarily a big problem. We're not special summoning anything in this deck that can be normal summoned outside of theoretically you could special summon something off of Diviner of the Herald with its secondary effect if it's tributed, but we're not. I didn't really meant. I said that effect didn't come up, and it doesn't that often, and so that's like the restriction of the Drytron deck. But you're still able to go into your extra deck, link into whatever you want, Xyz into whatever you want. So it's very good. Alpha Thubin is your best one, and your second best one is the Zeta card. So Zeta has that same effect where you contribute a Drytron or a ritual, special summon this card from your hand or graveyard in defense position, and then you basically add a ritual spell. This card is going to add a ritual monster. This card's adding the ritual spell. So they're basically just two sides of the same coin. Yeah, very good, very good. And then for the one-off Drytrons, Gamma. Gamma is essentially your Coach Soldier Wolfbark, where if you special summon this card using its effect, you're able to target one Drytron monster in your graveyard and special summon it. That's really good for going into rank 1 Xyz. Also, as we get further and further in, you'll see basically that the Drytron cards are allowing cheaper tributes. So sometimes you're special summoning something just to tribute it for a ritual. But yeah, Gamma, you're only running the one because it's cloggy and it's not going to get you really going that hard on turn 1, and you only really need the one. This card would be better if the meta was slower and we didn't have to play the way that we do. But in the current metagame, Gamma is it's not the most powerful card in your turn 1, and it's a bit lackluster going forward. It is good to combo off with it, and you really only need the one because these cards don't get banished at all from your graveyard. You can just special summon them ad infinitum, so that's pretty good. And then the last one shares the Drytron effect. This is Delta, Alpha, Beta, Gamma. So there's no beta in here. Alpha, Beta, Gamma. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta. Yeah, it's a shame that this is not in correct Greek letter order. Anyway, this card basically, if you when you special summon it, you can reveal a ritual monster or ritual spell in your hand and draw a card. So, extra draw. Hell yeah, it's awesome. And I already spoke about Herald of the Orange Light. So that's going to be it for the non-ritual monsters in the main deck. So the next card I need to talk about is Cyber Angel Benten. So this card is, we don't care about pretty much any of this text right here. The only thing we care about is these the 6 stars. So this allows us to go into rank 6 plays with the Diviner of the Herald. We only are running the 1 rank 6, the best rank 6, basically just allowing us to extra combo off. But the important effect of this card is if this card is tributed, you can add 1 light fairy monster from your deck to your hand. So that allows you to search Herald of the Orange Light, Eva, Diviner of the Herald. Oftentimes you're going to be tributing this card and searching Diviner of the Herald when you still have not normal summoned. Being able to normal summon Diviner of the Herald deeper into your combo is really excellent. So yeah, Herald of the Arclight, getting a search, etc., etc. Just a great starter extender. Diviner of the Herald's a great card, and it is searchable off of Cyber Angel Benten. You can also search this card, Herald of Ultimateness. So this card is completely insane. It's the reason you pretty much play the deck. As you guys noticed, the Drytron ritual cards, or the Drytron cards are not adding Drytron ritual monsters or ritual spells. So we only run the 1 kind of ritual spell, so that's not really that relevant here, and we'll get into that in just a second. But you can add this card off of Alpha, no problem. And you can also add this card off of Cyber Angel Benten. You can also add this card off of Diviner of the Herald, Herald of Arclight. And then to explain this card, it is essentially a walking Solemn Judgment. It's better than Solemn Judgment. So it's essentially a walking. It says. When your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, you can, or activates a spell trap or monster effect, so it's extremely versatile, pretty much catches everything. You can send 1 fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard, negate that special summon or activation if you do destroy that card, so this card's really insane versus a lot of different decks. It's essentially just telling people, no, you can't do anything. You can send Eva from your hand to the graveyard and use Eva to banish some light fairies and add more light fairies, giving you up to 3 negates. If you have an Eva in your hand, you haven't activated it, which is quite strong. And this is what I mean by not wanting to discard Herald of the Orange Lights off of their own effects, because most of the time you're going to be wanting to discard them with Herald of Ultimateness, because Herald of Ultimateness only costs 1 card, whereas Herald of Orange Light will cost 2, and it is less versatile. So this card, Drytron, Meteonis Quadratinus. So we're going to read this together, because it is the longest card we've encountered so far. You can summon this card with Meteoris Drytron. Your opponent cannot target this card with spell or trap card effects, so that is good. There's not a whole lot of spell or trap targeting effects right now in the meta. So the downside here is that Conquistador of the Golden Land, the card that I've kind of hyped ad infinitum or ad nauseum at this point, it does not target, so it can obviously target and destroy this card. Or not target, it can just destroy it. So you can only use this effect of, you can only use each effect once per turn. If the total number of levels used for this card's ritual summon were 2 or less, you can destroy all spell or trap cards your opponent controls, which is really good, just a free Heavy Storm. And if this card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 Drytron monster from your graveyard. You can special summon Drytron monsters from your graveyard, whose attack equals 4,000. I don't think this is the right card. I don't think this is the right Drytron. Excuse me. I don't think this is the... I think this is the card that we want. Anyway, I'll have to figure out exactly if this is the card that I want or not. I don't think this is the card that I want. I think you actually want this one, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Cyber Emergency. This card just allows you to. We'll fix that later if we ever need to. Cyber Emergency allows you to add Cyber Angel Ben 10, right. No, it does not allow you to add Cyberator Spelltime. Don't get baited. It allows you to add any of the Drytron cards from your deck to your hand, which is really good. You don't run 3 because it clogs. There may be a point where I try 3 out, just because it does add more tutor ability, more versatility to the deck. I run 3 prep. You don't have to, but I took a card called Cyber Angel Natasha, which is really quite good against Eldlich out of the deck for the 3rd prep of rights. Just more consistency, less power is the trade-off that I'm making here. I feel like that's a good trade to make in the lower elos. Lightning Storm, because we only have 1, and why not? It's really, really strong going second. Drytron Nova, you can special summon 1 Drytron monster from your deck, but destroy it during the end phase. That's not going to really be relevant, because we're going to use it either for a Ritual Summon and Xyz, or, you know, one of the Drytron effects themselves. So that's not that important. You can only activate 1 Drytron Nova, and then it has the same kind of Drytron effect that all of the cards have, where you can't special summon monsters that can be normal summoned. Running 3 Pot of Prosperity. The extra deck is really important in this deck, but there are things that you can banish. This is going to come with experience. I just needed more consistency as well, so I opted for the 3 Pot of Prosperity. And then the last card in the deck, this is kind of the reason that you play this deck, Meteonis Drytron. This card can be used to ritual summon any ritual monster from your hand or graveyard. So you are able to tribute off these ritual cards that are in your hand, put them in the graveyard, and then bring them back. So you can tribute monsters from your hand or field whose attack equals or exceeds the attack of the ritual monster. So in the case of Ben 10, you're going to need to be tributing 1. And then in the case of all the Drytrons, just 1 for Herald of Ultimateness. So that's quite good. Okay, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 Drytron monster you control. It loses 1,000 attack until the end of the turn, and you can just add it right back to the hand. So you can only use that recursion effect once per turn, but the ritual summon effect you can use as many times as you'd like. So a lot of the times you are summoning multiple Ben 10s in one turn and ending on the Herald of Ultimateness, because you need to overlay the Diviner and the Ben 10 over into a rank 6 Beatrice, which can allow you to get more Drytron names and combo off further, or it can send Eva and get you the cards that you need to discard with Herald of Ultimateness. So we'll get into the extra deck now. So one card that I would recommend picking up and throwing in, or if you just have it somehow, is Elder Entity NTSS. That card is really good to send going second, but really all you need is the 3 Herald of Arclights. You never synchro into this card, you only ever send it off of this card, and when you do, you add a ritual monster or spell from your deck to your hand. So quite good. The 1 Assembled Nightingale, I'm not going to talk about some of the Xyz. You don't really go in. I haven't gone much into this one. The Kinekagi Fucho, we're not really worried about this card as well. It's just another extra deck space filler, so that we have as many cards as we need to banish off of Pot of Prosperity. New Beta Fafnir. Now this is a card that you absolutely do need. When you ritual summon, you can attach a card from this card to tribute, basically. So when you Xyz into this card, you can when you Xyz into this card, this card, you are allowed to basically use cards from it as material or as tribute for your ritual summon. So it's really good, and that's not once per turn. So you can if you have 3 cards stacked under this, you can tribute 3 different cards underneath it. You can tribute 3 of its materials. And then if this card is Xyz summon, you send 1 Drytron card from your deck to your graveyard. Basically just more extenders. I talked about why they're so good in the graveyard, getting more names, just getting the whole chain going. And then when your opponent activates a spell trap or when your opponent activates a spell or trap card while you control a machine ritual monster, i.e. This guy, or just this guy. I think that we have the wrong Drytron. I showed off the ultra rare one. I think that's the one that you actually want, but when your opponent activates a spell trap and you control a ritual monster, you can detach 1 XYZ material, negate, and destroy it. Very strong. Very strong. That secondary effect does not come up that insanely often. It probably would come up more if I had the right Drytron card in my deck, but I digress. So we have Downward Magician. Just, I think, maybe you need an extra 100 damage or something. I think this is in here for a AA Sky Thunder Zeus package that I don't have, but we still have that card in the deck. And then we definitely need this card, Beatrice, the Eternal, or the Lady of Eternal. So it's got an effect that allows you to basically Xyz this card by using Burning Abyss stuff and Dante, but we are not playing Dante or Burning Abyss. We only care about this card. Once per turn, once per turn as a quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, send one card from your deck to your graveyard. And then it has an effect to summon a Burning Abyss card from your extra deck, but we are not doing that. You're sending Eva, one of your Drytron names. Sometimes you even have to send Herald of Ultimateness, so you can ritual summon it back with the Medionis. There's a lot of stuff to do. This card is extremely versatile. It's one of the best cards ever printed. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Link Karibo. So one level 1, so all of our Drytrons are level 1, so we can just link into this card for pretty much for free. And then we can get the Drytrons in the graveyard as well. So sometimes they get special summoned from your deck, or from your graveyard, and essentially you need to be able to activate their effects by tributing, whatever, or you need to kind of just get them going. Maybe you need to be able to tribute a Ben 10 so that you can get more and more engine cards. You have this card in there so you can link into that. And then we are running IP Masquerena. This card allows you to link on your opponent's turn, which is really, really strong, and I'll talk about a couple of the cards that we're linking into. 2 more space fillers, Decode and Traffic Ghost. Don't play these cards, they're bad, but everyone's got them, I guess. Nightmare Phoenix. So the list that I drew inspiration from, or not drew inspiration from, the list that Alex gave me, my good friend, not running this card. I have a thinner extra deck, so I'm running this card. Basically, when this card's link summoned, you can discard 1 card, target 1 spell trap card your opponent controls, destroy it. It's really only good against continuous spell traps that you need to be destroying, or perhaps in an end phase you make a linking turn with Masquerena. But basically, being able to discard 1 card, you have extra fuel in this deck because of Eva. Discarding 1 card and destroying a spell trap is quite good, or can be quite good situationally. The real reason you run IP Masquerena is because of Nightmare Unicorn. So linking into this card in your opponent's turn, discarding 1 card, and targeting 1 card, shuffling it into the deck is amazing. That level of disruption is really, really tough for a lot of different decks to get around. You can get rid of an Eldlord, you can get rid of a lot of different things. So they don't have the proper protection. They might just get shuffled back into the deck. Anyway, I just want to, before I end the video, I just want to give a huge shout out to my good friend Alex. We've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Our entire lives, pretty much. We've been in high school. Me and him used to just daydream about making optimal deck lists and daydream about tournaments during class, during times where maybe we needed to be paying attention, AP Chemistry, AP Biology, whatnot. But hey, we have ended up becoming really, really good at a children's card game that now has a virtual simulator. So, who's the real winner, Mr. Ernst? Alright, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I did make that one mention about having the wrong Drytron card. I will come out and most likely make a correction or a gameplay video explaining what card you should actually be running. So, stay tuned for that. Thanks, y'all.